Hi, everybody. This is Silvio Canto in Dallas, Texas on Thursday, March the 9th. And welcome to our commentary. We're going to talk a little bit today about a couple of issues International Women's Day and something that happened at the White House. There's a very good editorial today in the Dallas Morning News about Mexico and what's happening on the border. But let me begin with just a couple of quick things. I have a post over at the American Thinker today talking about school choice in Texas, how I see it coming. I see school choice coming to Texas. I think it's a matter of time as we go through the legislature or the legislative session going on right now in Austin, Texas. I'm not sure what it will look like, whether it's going to be vouchers or it's going to be savings accounts for the parents. That's the where I think the debate is. But I see it coming. I see it coming, and I think it's going to be good for the parents and it's going to be good for the kids. And it's also going to be good for the Texas economy. And let me tell you why. Because I believe that school choice will attract more relocations to Texas. More people will move to Texas, companies and people will move to Texas because of school choice. So I think overall, it's good for Texas and it is coming. I got to tell you this, and I've said it before. The young woman, the young lady who is the press secretary at the White House, first of all, she's totally incompetent. She should not have that job. We know why. We know why she has that job. She has that job, of course, because she clicks identity politics boxes. She's completely unprepared for the job, and at the same time, I feel sorry for her at the same time because, as I said before, she's unqualified for the job, and the poor thing is struggling there every day reading. They tell her you got to say this and you got to say that. I mean, you can read the stuff, but when she gets into an exchange with any reporter, I mean, you could just tell that she's completely unprepared for this. So, um, it's crazy. It's crazy that we're giving people jobs like that, but in this White House, you just don't know what you're going to get. Let's talk about International Women's Day. Well, that was, I guess, yesterday, March the 8th. The White House has a ceremony, and I've got a post over at the American Thinker about this. I think it'll be available today or tomorrow. The White House has a ceremony, and, they honor some women who have been, fighting and doing things, and that's fine. I have no problem with honoring women. But they honor one person who's actually a man dressed up as a woman who apparently falls in the category of LGBTQ, whatever that is. And this man dressed up as a woman is recognized for his work as a woman, I guess, promoting this and that. And this is what's crazy. This is what people look at and they go, this is crazy. I mean, the idea that you are recognizing a man dressed up as a woman is crazy. And when you do this and you realize that there are real women in Afghanistan and Iran who are fighting oppression, then it makes you angry. It makes you angry because a man dressed up as a woman is getting a trophy that a woman should get. And, it's crazy. And why the White House does stuff like this is beyond me. But this is unfortunately a woke White House. And they're under a lot of pressure and they got to do stuff like this to keep good relations, I guess, with the woke community that supports their campaign so much. But it's crazy. It's crazy to see a man dressed up as a woman being recognized for the work that this man dressed up as a woman has done as a woman. I mean, it's just crazy. It's crazy to see stuff like this. Just a quick note, the January 6th videos are out there, all the 40 hours. I don't see a conflict at all with these videos. They're out there. Let people watch them. Let people decide whatever they want to decide. I think to some extent these videos do shatter the narrative that this was a major insurrection and that our democracy was at risk. I think that was wrong. That was an exaggeration. There was a problem that day, and there was also a problem that the Capitol was not protected. I hope we get to that at some point in this investigation. But the idea that this was an insurrection and that the country was at risk, that's just a lot of crap. That never actually happened. And these videos to some extent, fill some of those gaps. That doesn't defend. Let me make it very clear. It doesn't defend people who broke in and crashed into offices, and that doesn't defend that. But at least I think it puts in some context what happened that day. There's a great editorial today in the Dallas Morning News about Mexico, and it basically calls on Mexico to do more to fight the cartels. Now, I can tell you this, that I'm not sure if Mexico can do any more than they're doing right now. And that's not an excuse, it's just a reality. Back in 2007, a new president came in, President Calderon, and he went right after the cartels. He threw the military at the cartels and he just took them on directly. And it had some effect. I mean, it did hurt the cartels. It certainly destroyed some of their ability to operate within the country. They also took out some of the cartels, but this came at a very heavy price for Mexico because Mexico really didn't have the military capability to do this operation. They're just not, they have a big military, but they don't have a big military to engage in these kind of special operations. Their military is more of a military police. You know, when there's an earthquake, they put people out to control traffic and that kind of thing. But they have frankly, a very small military operation that could target cartels in this fashion. So this operation came at a great cost to Mexico. There was also some concern about human rights violations, some of them legitimate, others were not legitimate. But nevertheless, this operation continued under President Calderon with some success. It was cut back a little bit under the next president, and it was completely eliminated under the current president, who decided to take a different approach, the approach of let's embrace rather than kill each other. That approach, of course, is not working either. So Mexico finds itself in a very difficult situation. I don't think they have that many options. I've said for years that what Mexico should do is take a look at the Colombia plan that we created almost 20 years ago, almost 30 years ago, when we helped Colombia with the drug elements back then and the cartels back then. And not only did we provide them with weapons, we actually provided them with special forces. We had special forces in Colombia helping Colombia battle this. The Mexican government has to do something like that with the United States. I don't think they have the ability to do it on their own. There's something else, too, that Mexico needs to consider, and this could be deadly for Mexico. The more that these incidents happen, the more that the State Department and the CIA or whatever, check out these tell people not to travel to Mexico. You have these mandates that are being issued, these, things that don't travel here, don't travel here. That is going to have an economic impact on Mexico that is pretty severe. I mean, they depend a great deal on American tourism. And when people say, no, I'm not going to go because the country's not safe, that is a huge economic impact for Mexico. So, it's tough. I don't know exactly what Mexico can do, but they got to do something, and they have to convince Americans, and that's the key. This is really the most difficult part. They're going to have to convince not the American government, but the Americans who are going down there that they can travel to Mexico safely. And we just saw what happened to 4 Americans on the border. That's going to be a terrible PR for Mexico. People who are driving into Mexico to get medical operations, and many of them are going to think twice about this now. That's going to be terrible. That's going to be terrible for Mexico. So what exactly Mexico can do? I mean, I agree with, the editorial in the Dallas Morning News that Mexico needs to do more. I do not agree that we should send troops into Mexico. That would be very stupid. But we might be able to do something, some paramilitary operations. But we should do it with Mexico. That's what I think is the ideal situation. Get together with Mexico and say, let's do it together. That at least would get some things done. And right now, it's not working. And again, as I said before, the economic impact of all of this for Mexico could be very, very harsh. People don't go to Mexico on vacation. They don't drive into Mexico. They don't go to Cancun. They don't go here. They don't go there. That has a terrible economic impact on the Mexican on the Mexican economy. So it's complicated. It's complicated. I wish we had a president who was more engaged in all of this. He's not. And that, of course, is a problem, a terrible problem to say the least. A couple of quick things on this day, a couple of birthdays I wanted to mention. Happy number 64 to Barbie. Yes, I'm talking about the Barbie doll that so many of our sisters, I don't have any daughters, but my nieces used to play with them. The Barbie doll came out on this day in 1964. It was the creation, I believe, of a lady who used to work with Mattel, the company that makes toys. And I think the design of Barbie, the doll design, came from a German idea. But anyway, happy number 64 to Barbie and all of those little girls like my sister who used to play with Barbie. And we say happy number 81 to one of the greatest baseball players, Campy Campaneris, who was a key part of the Oakland A's back in the 1970s. A great shortstop, a great leadoff hitter, one of my favorite players, Campy Campaneris, who was born in Cuba on this day in 1942. Happy number 81 to Campy, as they used to call him. Thanks for listening. This is Silvio Canto in Dallas, and we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye, everybody.